Hi everybody, welcome to part one of our Impressionist painting unit. The first part is just going to be a warm-up exercise where we will practice again our tint and shade paint mixing skills. So what you will need is a 3x10 inch piece of paper, a ruler, a pencil, a paintbrush, a palette with black and white paint, a water container with water, and some paper towels. The first thing we're going to do is divide our strip of paper into 10 equal sections. So grab your ruler and mark off top and bottom 10 1-inch marks so that you will have 10 1-inch rectangles because you are going to create 10 different values from white to black. So I've made my marks on top and bottom. Now I'm going to connect them. I'm drawing kind of dark so you can see it in the video. I've got a soft number 6 pencil. But when we're drawing in art, I always tell you to draw lightly. So these lines do not need to be dark. Practice drawing lightly. Practice gridding lightly. All right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 values. So I'm going to start with value 1, which is going to be white. So between 1 and 10, which is totally black, I've got to get an even spacing of grays. So that's going to take you a little bit of practice. So I did include 3 strips with your little art kit. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my paintbrush wet. Remember, never put wet paint into a dry paintbrush. Get it out of my mouth. All right, I'm going to paint rectangle number 1, white. Okay, rinse out my paintbrush. I'm going to paint rectangle number 10, black. So I've got my visual. Okay, I know I've got to get between here and there in 8 more even steps. So the easiest way to approach this, because there's physics that apply to mixing paint. I always say you can't mix a light into a dark because then you'll make a gallon of paint. So you've got to mix your dark into your light. So I'm going to start by mixing the black into the white and start with step number 2 and try and get just a slightly darker white. So I'm going to kind of wash my brush out, not too much black paint. Stir it in so that my white still looks almost white. Make sure you can see that. Back things down. Okay, so my white still looks almost white. I'm going to paint it. I've got to get that in 8 steps, so maybe that's too dark, too light. So I'm going to go ahead and darken it just a little. That looks more like it. Okay, so I can see I've got number 1, number 2. I'm going to add a little more black paint. And I'm going to paint number 3. And OMG, that's way too dark. So I'm going to come over here with my white paint, mix my dirty brush in my white paint, and go over that again. That looks better. Not quite as big a jump. Then I'll go back to this one and paint step number 4. Now it's not dark enough. Play again, a little bit darker. There we go. That looks like it. All right, just slightly darker again. That's a good step. Now, instead of adding white and keep going that way, because I'm afraid I'm not going to get dark enough, I am going to break the rule a little bit and put light into dark. But you've got to start with just a very small amount of the dark. You don't want to try and mix white into a huge pile of black. So with the gray on my paintbrush, I'm going to pull some black over here and stir it up. I'm going to test that and go, does that look like maybe step number 9? Maybe it needs to be a little bit darker because I'm thinking I'm not going to get enough steps between here and here. to get obvious changes. So that should be a little bit darker yet. So I'm gonna add a little more black. I'm gonna darken that one more time, a little more. Try that again. I think I wanna go darker yet. A little more. Ah, that looks more like it. All right, there's my step number 9. All right, so I'm gonna pull some gray into that. Some of the gray I've already made. Test that out. That looks almost the same. Let's pull a little more of that gray in there and lighten it just a bit. Ooh, that might have been too much. We'll play. All right, let's look. Oh, that looks good. That's a good step. All right, so a little bit lighter again. Throw some of my white and gray in there. Lighten it again. That looks pretty good. Oh, it's getting kind of touchy. I don't know. Lighten it again. And do the next one. I think those are too much alike. Let's lighten that one a little more. Not dark enough. A little more. Whoops, got a black line in it. Yikes. Mix your paint. That looks more like it. I kind of like that. All right, so I've got values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 from white to black. And I think they're pretty even. It might take you some practice. It might take you a couple more times. So I want you to, use the papers I got you. You can even flip them over and do it again. You've got up to 6 tries here. So what you're gonna do when you're done and you've got your best one, you're gonna photograph them and upload them to the Google assignment. See you for step number 2.